Hey, good morning once again, everybody. Welcome to another special edition of the Practice Gratitude Success Show. And today, I don't usually do extra shows like this, but this is a very extra special friend of mine, a fella here known as Mr. Kick-Ass Lifestyle, Christopher Rausch. Chris, thank you so much for taking this time. I know you're at work right now too, right? You're at work?
Yeah, I'm actually on a job right now. But yeah, good morning, Bob. Good morning, everybody. And thanks for having me on your show. I appreciate it.
I want to say hi to the people that are over here. Chris, thank you for coming. People are popping in right now as we speak. So, Chris, I've known Chris. I don't know. It's probably going back maybe 5 years or something like that. You know,
yeah, I know it's been a while. It's crazy how fast times go by.
I know. Yeah, I met you at an event with a friend of ours, Bandana, and it was all through the thing with Clinton Swain. And he does a thing in San Diego called Play to Win, and Eldana was a pupil of his, and then she started her own little deal, and then so you came down to one of her events, and that's how we met. So it was a weekend thing, wasn't it? Like a whole weekend.
Yeah, it was a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah, really pretty cool. So tell us what is the whole kick-ass thing? What does that mean? Kick-ass lifestyle. What is that all about?
That's a great question, Bob. It's something that I came up with for the viewers out there. If you don't know me, previously I was a suit and tie speaker. So I was wearing the blue suit, the red tie, the shiny shoes, getting up on stage, saying what everybody else was saying. And one day I came off stage and I was like, it's just not me. I like wearing a suit every once in a while, but I just want to be me. I'm a biker, a rocker. I love to motivate people. I love to just be me. And I think that a lot of times in life, we put the face on when we go out and we go do our job, we put the uniform on. And at that point, I was just like, I just want to be me. So I went to the drawing board and I created a couple of different brands. And I wanted it to surround the fact that I love working with people who just want the real straight shit, the straight scoop, none of the self-help fluffy bullshit. So I came up with the blue collar guide to life. And then I was like, okay, blue collar comedy. And I changed it and I was like, you know what? Kick-ass. I say kick-ass a lot, like awesome or rad. And I was like, you know what? I want to hang around kick-ass people. I want to, just have that energy and that directness and that authenticity to help people develop the self-confidence to be able to go out and do everything they wanted in the world. So it just came about, and it's the whole, you have the Kick-Ass Guide to Life. It's become a brand. It's become it's a movement now, and it's really just based on my passion to help people become the best version of themselves they possibly can.
And so when you go on stage, usually you wear like a bandana and stuff too, right?
Yeah. Yep. I've got the bandana, the tie. I'm a little bit rocker, a little bit business. So I wear the tie and I wear the vest, but then it's jeans and Converse shoes and, just me being me. But I'm also, I've got a master's degree, so I'm part business. My day job, I'm a director of operations. So I've got the business side, but I'm also, blending it with who I really am. So it's just it's a total fun, it's really cool.
That does sound pretty cool. Now, do you do speaking engagements and things like that? Because I see a picture of you up there on stage in front of like a lot of people. So what do you do? Tell us about that.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. It's a passion of mine. Back in 2008, I went through kind of a metamorphosis in a way. I came back from a funeral, and we've all been to funerals. And for me, I was sitting in the back of the church that day, and I was watching everybody go up there, and they were eulogizing this lady who passed away. And I thought to myself, if I died tomorrow, what would people, first of all, who would come and what would they say about me? And back in 2008, I'm known for being sarcastic. I'm known for being fun and just having a blast, but I'm also known for being serious. And I thought if people showed up at my funeral tomorrow, they'd probably say, Chris was a jokester. Chris had a lot of fun. Chris loved music. But that wasn't enough for me. So I went home and I wrote my own eulogy. And God is my witness. I wrote it down. And the gist of it was that Christopher Rausch will have fought for what was right and what was fair. He will have risked for which that mattered. And he will have left the earth a better place for who he was and what he did. And I did that exercise, Bob, and I do that with my coaching clients. And you're spot on when you read it back and you have tears in your eyes. And the whole gist of it was that I will have made a difference in the world because I'm so passionate based on my story and my history of just really helping people get over their past and have a kick-ass life. So I do speaking engagements. I do coaching, very limited, very, very limited coaching. And my biggest passion is helping kids, like at-risk teenagers like I was, So that's my big passion. So yeah, I love speaking. I just love helping people.
That's awesome, man. That's so, I mean, that's such a great perspective to look at, write your own eulogy, because we usually try to shut that stuff off, don't we? We say, I don't even want to go there.
Yep. I've actually had coaching clients because I believe in, if you have I mean, it's so stupidly simple. That's why I say, without the self-help fluffy bullshit, because I'm not going to spend a lot of time trying to sit there and make people get engaged. It's like, okay, here's the fastest route. What is the end goal? Where do you want to end up? Do you want to end up old and lonely, bitter about life, or do you want to end up with people around you and great things and great experiences? So yeah, but people don't want to think about that. And that's the crazy thing, because I know it's uncomfortable, but once you get comfortable with being uncomfortable, there's nothing that can stop you. And one of my events that I had a couple of years ago was how to create an unstoppable attitude for personal and professional success. Because what I do is I sit there and say, okay, what are the roadblocks? What are the limiting beliefs that you have? And how do we get you to get to the confidence where you're like, you know what, I'm going to go for this. And if I quote unquote fail, it's not really a failure. If I don't try again, it's a learning opportunity. So I'm super passionate. You watch in the next, however long we talk, I get more and more fired up.
Oh, that's cool. Chris, what's the biggest limiting beliefs that you run into people that most people seem to have?
The most limiting belief, honestly, is a lot of it goes back to conditioning. When from the age of 0 to 5 years old, that's when we really become the people we're going to become. And through those processes, when you think back about it, you establish these beliefs about yourself. The teachers around you, like, oh, you're stupid, you can't sing, or you'll never be good at that. You should do this. So all of that baggage, we continue to grab that baggage as we go through life. Like, oh yeah, my parents said I would never be good at this. So my biggest limiting belief with people is they just don't think they can. And I introduce a word called perhaps, because like if somebody says, you know what, I can never speak in front of people. I've had people like just tremble in front of me at the thought of it. I'm like, okay, perhaps you could speak in front of people if you've got out of the roadblocks. And the roadblock is really fear. And we're so fearful of the rejection. We're so fearful of, taking risks because we don't want to disappoint anybody. And so the biggest limiting belief is the fear that we have that we can't. And that is crazy, because when you think about it, Bob, you know this personally from your experience. If somebody walks up to somebody and says, you know what, you have 2 weeks to live, what happens? People start to live. They don't exist anymore. They start to live. They go, you know what, I have nothing to lose. I'm going to go jump out of a plane. I have nothing to lose. I'm going to go ahead and do these things. And they start really living. And studies show that people who have been diagnosed with cancer, especially once they let go of all the baggage and just really said, you know what, I'm just going to live my life in my heart and not worry about all this other crap that it's really not any of my concern, they get cured. They get better. And I'm not a doctor by any ways, but it's just amazing. People start to live when they know they're going to die, but they don't want to think about dying. And then you get to that point where you have those regrets. And I have 2 goals in life is, stay out of a hospital and no regrets, because I've talked to so many older people. When my mom was sick, I spent time in convalescent hospitals, and all of them said, because I would just ask them, like, if you had your life to do over again, what would you do? And they said, I would be the person that I am instead of trying to be the person that everybody wanted me to be. I mean, and that's sad. So my whole goal in life is just like, be you. Whatever you do, be you.
Yeah, because nobody else can be as good as you can be, right?
No, we try to be something for somebody else. We try to put this face on, like, I'm going to go to work and be this charming guy, so I can get a promotion and get all these people to like us. For what? When I did the KICKASS thing, I had so many people, even Les Brown, the famous motivational speaker. I spent 3 days with Les Brown. And the first day he's like, I don't get this bandana thing. I don't get this KICKASS thing. I don't think you should swear. And I said, Les, I respect the hell out of you. You are one of my greatest mentors next to Tony Robbins, but I just got to be me. And I think if the world is just being themselves, what a great world that would be. So, I mean, but it's not easy. It's definitely tough. I mean, it's challenging, but at the end of the day, if I'm going to suck at something, I'm going to suck at it being me.
Exactly.
But I don't suck.
I love that. Hey, dare to suck. That was one of the lessons in the Play to Win thing with Clinton Swain. It was a big poster up there. They would say, dare to suck. In other words, do it. Just freaking do it. Get out there and do something, whatever it is. Don't worry about sucking. You're going to get better. If you stick with it, you're going to get better at it.
Yep. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and then nothing can hold you back. And especially the other thing about that, Bob, and for the viewers out there is, I think it was Jim Rohn or Stephen Covey said, you're like the 5 people you're around the most. Well, if you look around at your friends and they're like, don't do that. That's stupid. And don't take risk. And, that's a safe job, or that's a stable relationship. But in your heart, you're supposed to be doing something else. Then you need to get different people around your life. And that, even in family members, I hear so often, I'm like, okay, tell me about the people you're around. And usually the people that I coach or I'm mentoring, they're like, oh, well, this person is like this. I'm like, I hate to tell you, but if you want to excel, you got to get around people who are brighter and smarter than you. And your success quadruples. It's amazing.
It is amazing. That's probably why people spend big money to belong to country clubs. You say, like, why do you want to be hanging around with all these people? Well, because you're just the association, being around them, just the process of osmosis.
Mm-hmm.
Just listening to their conversations and things like that. It's just amazing.
Mm-hmm. So true. You know about it.
Oh yeah, and it's right now it's so easy for us because it's everywhere. Just go on the friggin' YouTube if you want. Just if you don't have any friends, as long as you have an internet connection, go onto YouTube because everything it's there. Just stay on the right side of YouTube. Don't go into.
It's amazing the technology right now, Bob. I'm called the no excuses coach because you could pretty much bring me any excuse and I will find a way for you to overcome it. And, a lot of times before it was, well, I don't have enough money to go to school, or I don't have enough money to go get training. And now I tell people there is no excuse. You could literally go on Google. And for you guys out there who don't know this, if you type howtospeak.pdf, you will find a gang load of material out there that will teach you how to do it. I want to learn how to weld underwater.pdf. It's amazing. You go on YouTube. YouTube's the second highest search engine now. You can go on there and you can find out all this information, and it bugs the shit out of me, Bob, when people are sitting there saying, my finances suck and I just don't know what to do and I keep going in deeper into debt. And first thing I say, did you Google it? Well, what am I can't afford to pay an expert. All you have to do is just go on there and type how to fix my finances. And you're going to find so much information out there that if you can't get better by applying yourself and doing that, then you're an idiot. And I got a perfect example. I had a guy that approached me for coaching and I gave him my price and he's like, well, I can't afford it. And I said, you know what? I'm not really, I have to have my price that point because people won't take it serious. I said, but if you're serious and you can't afford it, here's what I'm going to do. And I offer this out there for you guys listening. You can hit me up about this. I gave him 5 books to read. I said, if you read each of these 5 books, and I tell you what, as an accountability, because that's the most important thing, if once a week you email me and say, okay, Chris, I read chapter 15 from Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within, and I learned these things, and this is how I'm going to apply to my life. I will reply to you for free and say, hey, that's great, or here's some tips. But that person, and he may be watching, didn't take it serious. I'm like, that's exactly why I don't coach that much anymore, because unless people have skin in the game, they're just like, oh, I didn't have time. But, oh, did you watch House of Cards? Oh, yeah, my God, it was so great. And I watched 10 episodes at once because it's on Netflix. All right, well, then you're an idiot.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is. But
yeah, I don't watch much TV. I watch some comedy here and there just to give my brain a break. But I'm about living life while I'm alive.
Absolutely. So now, Chris, you live up in the LA area or Orange County, or where do you live up?
I live in Riverside.
Riverside. Okay. All right.
Yeah. I moved out there to get away from Orange County, and now everybody from Orange County is moving to Riverside. So now I got to figure something else out.
That's pretty awesome. And so how long have you been doing this coaching and speaking and things like that? 2008, you said?
No, actually, I've been speaking. I've always been outgoing, and I wanted to get into music and be a rock star. I love music and I love helping people and inspiring people. So I've been speaking probably since the late 90s. Going through my master's program, I really became like the group speaker for our program. And then through industry events and stuff like that, I was the co-chair for a couple of associations. And then I just decided, okay, I suck at music, but I could still get on stage and I could still take my story and the things I've learned from 30 years in personal development and help other people, not waste their life. So yeah, I've been doing it professionally since 2008, but I did it way before then.
Okay. Now, Chris, have you had any personal challenges growing up as a young guy?
Do you know my story, Bob?
Let's hear your story. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version of it because it's pretty long. But essentially, I was born to a mother who had various psychological disorders and dependencies, if you will. Didn't know my biological father, and found out later on he was married with kids, so they were having their little tryst. And grew up here in Southern California in Inglewood for the first about 6 years of my life, which is predominantly a Black neighborhood. So I learned about discrimination at a very early age because I was the only white kid in the neighborhood. And then just throughout the years, just physical abuse, mental abuse. I hate even actually talking about the story anymore because it's so long ago, but mental and physical abuse, got the shit kicked out of me quite a bit. And then on May 10th, 1982, when I was about 13 years old, 7th grade and junior high school, we lost our house. Didn't actually lose it, but my mom got us kicked out because she spent a bunch of money on trying to save her cat who died anyway. So we wound up living in the family station wagon for the next 4 years, and with 18 cats and 4 dogs, by the way. And yeah, those 4 years were, I tried to commit suicide twice, but fortunately I sucked at it. Drugs, alcohol, gangs, fighting, stealing, everything like that. And finally came to a point where I realized, everybody gets that fork in the road. And I said, okay, listen, either A, I'm going to wind up dead or in jail, or B, I'm going to get out of here. And I kept trying to take care of my mom and, not leave her there. And I finally, it's the big lesson I teach people is I had to take care of me. I had to put me as a priority, and I went on a path and I got around the right people, and I went back and got my GED. I started going to community college. All my friends told me I was stupid. And I said, have a nice life, and graduated with my master's degree, bought my first house in 2000. I own 2 houses now. I've been successful in my career here. I've been director, 23 years here. I've got an amazing life, amazing wife, amazing friends. So yeah, that's the very condensed version of my life, but I wouldn't trade it.
Love that. So that's the kind of energy and passion and story that you can bring to young people growing up, because they probably have excuses too. Oh, I can't because I had a tough time, tough upbringing, and that's how you can relate to them, huh?
Oh yeah. There's a video on my YouTube channel from, I think it was last year. I spoke at a foster youth event. I was the last keynote. It was funny. I was a celebrity speaker, but I'm not a celebrity really. So it was all these actors before me. And it's one of the greatest videos I'm proud of because I didn't use any notes. I just spoke from the heart. I've got ADD on crack, in case you guys can't tell. So, I'm spun. So I use PowerPoint to keep me on track. I usually use one word or a picture just to keep my mind on this path. And I just went up there and I said, you know what? I'm just going to speak from the heart today. And it was incredible because when you make connections with people and you actually share what's inside and not be afraid if somebody's going to judge you because, you dug through dumpsters to survive. And there's so much stuff that we put on this bravado and there's all this crap, but at the heart of it, we're all the same. Whether you're black, white, straight, gay, tall, fat, Republican, old, young, you split us down the middle, we're all the same. We all have got fears and hurts and desires and goals and dreams. But Bob, that day in that video, I watch it still and I cry. And I showed it to my mother-in-law and she was just like, wow. And these kids afterwards were engaging with me. They're like, oh, can I ask you a question? Why didn't you hate your mom? And I'm like, it wasn't my mom's fault necessarily. I've grown to understand, her psychological side of it. But, connecting with people is amazing, especially kids, because they have so much against them right now. It's unbelievable.
There's also so much for them too, though, if they choose to look in that direction. And is that what you kind of direct them just to a better place, right?
Yeah. Honestly, in a nutshell, Bob, I realized this about a couple of months ago. What I'm an expert at is changing people's perception about their past, present, and their future. So a lot of kids will say, like I did, my mom said, don't have kids because, I was abused, you were abused, so you're going to abuse somebody. I'm like, no, Mom, that's bullshit. I can choose to take a different route. I can choose to educate myself. So the thing I try to do with these kids is change their perception and say, okay, yeah, you've been on the street, you've been in gangs, you've been, abused, you've been raped, you've been all these different things. But today is a brand new day. And if you sit there and you look at the world, Dr. Wayne Dyer said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And it's such a phenomenal way of looking at stuff. It's like, okay, that was yesterday. Today I'm here and I can stick around these friends and wind up either dead or in jail, or I can take a risk and I can believe in myself and I can go out there and I can try to get a job and get my GED and move on with their life. Because if I can do it, and it's no joke, Bob, if I can do it, anybody can do it. You just got to have the fire within. You got to have the right people around you. And you have to know that if you fall down, it's not the staying down. That the staying down is the failure. When you get back up and you go, okay, that happened. That's another way not to do it. And you keep driving towards it. You can succeed in anything.
It's impossible to fail if you keep going. There's no such thing as failure. Failure is just feedback. You're just learning a way of not to do certain things.
Exactly. You're spot on.
Love that. No, I love that. So how do you, Chris? How do you, like, if you get a young person, and like, you know, what you just said right there was really powerful. And I'm a 14-year-old kid, and I'm sitting there and saying, "Wow, man, I'm looking up to this guy. This is pretty cool. I want to be like that." But then, you know, you go home, he goes home, and he gets stuck back in the same old place where he was before, and we forget. You know, people, we all do. It's like we can read the most empowering, motivational book or inspiring book, and then, you know, we put it down. It's like, that was great. Stick with us for a day or so, and then it kind of goes away. What do you tell people? How do they overcome that? How do they stay in the zone?
That is an awesome question, Bob. You know what? It's a couple of things. Number one, I just had this. I think I don't own this one, but we take a shower every day, right?
Right.
We get clean, and then we take a shower, and then the next day we get up, we take a shower. Sometimes we take a shower twice a day. Some people may not take a shower every day, but eventually you take a shower if you have a shower, right? So the point is that with motivation and inspiration, it's not a one-time thing, especially with books. You know, for me, I read. As I read, I write. And so I'm writing stuff down, and it ingrains it in my brain. Actually, writing it makes a subconscious agreement in there. So I tell people that, okay, yeah, you read a book. What did you get out of it? What's your retention rate? And you have to do that every day. For me, example, I listen to a daily coach cast by a friend of mine, JB Glossinger. He runs morningcoach.com. So every day, every single day, 15 minutes, I get that re-energization. I don't know if that's a word. I get energized again. I listen to podcasts. I listen to audiobooks. I read stuff. I'm constantly, even after 30 years of doing this, I'm constantly bringing that back into my brain, because this is where I'm authentic. I tell people I have bad days and bad weeks and even bad months where I'm just like, you know what, screw this. It's not worth it. It's bullshit. You know, blah, blah, blah. I should just, I should give up trying. And, I've already been successful. So I get down too. And that's part of the journey. And some of the things I tell people, like I was just mentoring a 16-year-old kid. And I said, you know what, I can talk to you until I'm blue in the face. And I can tell you everything you need to do. But ultimately, if it's not here, then you need to go through that journey yourself, and you need to fall down and make those mistakes, and you need to just keep me in the back of your mind. And that's why I tell people now, I plant seeds. Right. So I plant seeds, and eventually I get people 5 years later like, dude, when you said that you're only limited by the parameters of your own mind, I didn't really get it until yesterday when I thought, I'm the one that's doing this to myself. Because we sit there and blame everybody else. Oh, it's my parents' fault, it's society's fault, it's the president's fault, it's all these people's fault. And nobody stands up and goes, you know what? I'm the one that's choosing to believe it. Hello, it's me. And that's one of the big things I do is I get people to accept responsibility for, okay, yeah, you were abused 40 years ago. Not to be mean, but get over it and let's live today.
Exactly. Yeah. So many people just they stay stuck in a place. I did a show yesterday. And I was just telling a little story about how, because I wake up in the morning and I've got my gratitude journal. I'm totally into the gratitude thing because it's free. Gratitude is free. It's easy. It's like the simplest thing I've ever seen in my life, where you can, if you practice that and you put your mind in gratitude, it's impossible to have some bad thoughts. But I was laying there and I was just thinking, I just thought of an event like happened like 3 years ago, and it wasn't, and I wasn't really dwelling on it. But then all of a sudden I felt like I was a drill. You ever see those big drills in the back of a truck and they start drilling a hole? And I felt like I was starting to think about this situation, and I was like, and I'm drilling a hole and I'm going down deep. And I said, wait a minute. I said, stop. I was there for about maybe 5 or 7 seconds, and I said, I know where that was going. I was going to start getting into, and then when you have those negative thoughts, the energy, then you project it into the universe. You project that negativity, so you have a negative thought. And that's why I stay away from things like TV, newspapers, and that kind of stuff, because you don't want to bring that into your life.
Nope. I stopped watching the news and politics probably about 5 years ago, and I was a news junkie and a political junkie. And I found myself yelling at the TV, literally yelling at the TV. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not going out and making a difference. I'm not protesting. I'm not wearing a sign. I'm not calling my congressman. Stop watching that and just focus on what I can do, because you're right. I mean, I'm listening to some of this political stuff right now because I'm just like mortified at what's going on. And I keep telling myself, I get drawn in. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just watch the Republican debate and I'm like, no. I'll make a decision when it's like, 2 weeks before election. But, to your point, Bob, this is something very critical about gratitude. And people take that for granted. Like, oh yeah, airy fairy stuff. But the other day I've been having back issues. I got spinal stenosis. I got a bunch of stuff going on, and it's just hereditary. And I find myself, I'm a go-getter, and now I'm having to realize, okay, Chris, you can't ride roller coasters anymore. And it's going to hurt. But I've also got a friend of a friend who I knew back in the 80s. I found out he had a simple accident in his house. He tripped over his daughter's small wooden table, and a piece of the wood severed his spinal cord. And he laid there paralyzed for 24 hours or 12 hours, paralyzed, screaming for somebody to come help him. And the gardener finally came in through the window, called 911. But my point is, I was sitting there walking my dog, and I was wincing, and I was bitching, and I was just like, this sucks, and this is not fair, and I take care of myself. And it just totally, just like you said, just going down the rabbit hole. And I stopped, and I said, you know what, Chris? There's a guy laying in a bed right now who cannot feel his shoulders. He would trade in a second to have your pain. So shut the hell up.
Right.
And I kid you not, God is my witness. I was like, you know what? We're walking. And if it's just, you have to change your perception about your situation and realize there's so many other people out there who have it so much worse. I had a guy last week was complaining about everything. Well, you just don't understand, Chris. And you're Mr. Positive. And I said, did you by any chance go to a place in your house today and turn a faucet and hot water came streaming out of the wall? And he's like, well, what do you mean? I said, think about it. You have hot water anytime coming out of the wall for you. There's kids that are drinking water with mud in it.
Right.
Shut up.
And if you have to walk miles to get it.
Yeah. It's just about perspective. When we change our perspective, when we change our attitude, everything else follows.
It is. I mean, and you said that earlier. That's the key. If you can get somebody just to change the meaning that they assign to whatever it is that happened, just change the meaning. What does that mean to you? That means now you can just focus on. Well, now that means that that sucked. However, now I'm going to go this way. The arrows are going to be pointing up. So it's just that. It is that simple. It really is that simple, isn't it?
It is.
It is. It's that simple. Well, Chris, I got to see that video. I have to see that video that you're talking about there. So and what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Thanks, Bob. It's really super simple. It's ChristopherRausch.com, RAUSCH, ChristopherRausch.com. If you don't remember that, just go to IamKickass.com. It's all one word. YouTube page is right there. I think the video I'm talking about is like the featured video. Honestly, I've taken a step back in the last year and a half from speaking and coaching and like actively pursuing it. So I'm pretty sure that's the video up there. It's not because I don't want to. It's just I take my own little breaks myself to make sure that I'm doing things for the right reasons and everything. So, but yeah, it's just ChristopherRausch.com.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, like you said earlier, you got to take care of yourself. If you're not at that place where you want to do things, so, sometimes we shouldn't do those things, and then just take care of number one. Take care of number one first. Get yourself right. Get yourself straight. Super
huge, Bob. It's so important, and people think that they have to do things. It's another thing that I teach. It's like you either have to or you want to. And most of the times they're like, oh, I have to do this. I have to do this. I'm like, no, you don't. You don't. I have to go to my job. You don't have to go to your job. You can walk into your job and quit. You don't have to. You choose to. So if you're miserable, then you're choosing to be miserable. I did that with a vice president of a company, huge company. And I said, listen, I've known you for a while and you've been complaining about the same thing, but you're choosing to be miserable. He's like, no, I'm not. And I said, you can quit your job. He's like, I've got kids. I said, I understand that, but are you actively looking for another job? Well, I'm too old. Well, look, all of your excuses. So if you got fired tomorrow, what would you do? Just curl up in a ball and not do anything? Oh, if I got fired tomorrow, I'd probably have to. I'm like, okay, see, change your thinking, change your outcomes.
I love it because your approach is so simple and it's real. It's not just mumbo jumbo or something. These are things you can do. Here's some steps you can take, but do it.
Do it.
You got to take those freaking steps.
It's so amazing. I mean, Bob, that's why I go back to that, without the self-help fluffy bullshit. It's just, okay, are you serious? Do you want it? And I've honestly learned, and this, I will share this with everybody, even you, I take it personally if somebody comes to me for help and I give them everything and they still don't change. I took it personally. I was like, maybe I'm not that good at this, and maybe I'm just full of my own shit, and maybe, it's all. And then it dawned on me that really, even for myself, that until Tony Robbins teaches this, I can't take ownership of it, but you either avoid pain or gain pleasure from every decision you make. And until something gets so problematic that it hurts so much, that's when people take action. So what I really try to do is I use visualization to get people like, I got a guy to quit smoking. I said, you have any kids? And he says, yeah, I got a 4-year-old daughter. And I said, do you want to see her graduate high school and walk her down the aisle? He goes, yeah. And so I did a couple of exercises with him, and he quit smoking. I said, you're choosing cigarettes. You're choosing to die before you take care of your daughter. He goes, no, I'm not. I love my daughter. It's the most important thing in the world. I'm like, well, you're smoking, and you could not get it, but you could possibly end your life soon and not see your daughter do that. Is it worth it? Do you want to be sitting there gasping for your last breath, thinking about, oh, hey, baby, I'm sorry, but daddy chose cigarettes over going to your wedding? I'm sorry, you just got to change that. But I know now that if I can get people so far, but unless they really have that burning desire to change, they're not. They're going to sit there and say, that's why I stopped coaching. They're like, oh, I'm seeing a life coach. And they would come to me and like, okay, I'm serious. I'm like, okay, here's the 10 things you need to do. Well, I could do 2. I'm like, you're not serious. Go away.
Right. When you it's like the thing that you always hear on the videos. When you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, that's when you can be successful. When you put that kind of effort into something, when you say, that's it, I choose, I decide, and no matter what, you start living a yes life. Say yes to life, that you are going to do it no matter what. It doesn't matter what gets in your freaking way. It doesn't matter. Anything doesn't matter. Just do it.
Yep. You got to have hustle. You have to have fire. And I'm not telling anybody that it's easy. Trust me. I'm an entrepreneur. It is tough. And you just have to really decide. You have to have a game plan. You have to have accountability people in your life. They're going to be like, hey, did you do this week? Because I know personally, I'm great at planning. I'm great at writing content. I am so spun that I am not focused. So I need somebody kicking my ass every week going, hey, Chris, you said you were going to do this. Did you do it? And out of pride, we'll do it. But it's not easy, but it's so worth it, because when you think about your life in 10, 20, 5 years, are you going to look back and go, wow, I really should have done something? Are you going to regret that? And if you're not going to regret it, then fine. Status quo, steady Eddie is fine. If you want to go home and watch TV every night and spend time with your family and eat the same thing, that's cool. That's totally cool. But if you have a fire in your belly and you have this thing that you want to do not die with your music inside of you. You got to get it out and go live.
Exactly. Because how important is it, like before you mentioned about hanging around with people that are going to help to raise you up, about getting coaching? You get coaching yourself?
Yes, as a matter of fact, yeah, I've been part of masterminds. I've had nutritional coaches, regular coaches. Now I'm at a point where I know so many coaches that we have accountability phone calls with about 3 or 4 of my friends. But yeah, it's so important. I mean, it's crazy that people don't want to. People will spend more time planning their tailgate party than they'll plan their life. They'll spend more money doing all that stuff, and it blows my mind that, well, okay, I don't want to spend $175 an hour or spend $1,000 for 3 months or whatever it is to make my life better. But they do all these other things, and you have to make that investment. And one thing that I came to the, I heard a dog.
Yeah, that's Charlie.
Oh, I'm like, there's something in my ear. I realized that for myself. I was joining a mastermind, and I looked down at the price, and my immediate reaction is like, oh, I can't afford that.
Right.
And then I thought, you know what? If you have this passion, Chris, to be the speaker and a coach and do all these different things, write books, if you can't make that investment in yourself, not an expense, that investment in yourself, and you can't earn that back plus $1, that investment plus $1, then you have no business following your dream. And I signed the check and I put my credit card on it, and I never regretted it. It was a phenomenal experience. And it grew me in so many different ways, making that investment. So, if they want to look at it and go, oh, I can't afford coaching, because it blows my mind. People do that, but they spend money on cable every month, and it's like, all right, that's cool. That's your thing.
Choice. It's a choice we make.
Sacrifices, compromises. What's more important to you? Being able to say that you watched 10 seasons of House of Cards, or getting your life together and being a great example for your kids.
Right. That's so funny. I never heard of House of Cards.
Yeah, I guess it's popular. I've never seen it.
So it's just you say Christopher J. Rausch?
No, just Christopher Rausch. RAUSCH, ChristopherRausch.com. On Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all over the place. I mean, you type "KICKASS," you'll find me. There's no doubt.
I will put all those links inside the video that will be coming out soon after this. There will be a video of this, and it's going to go on YouTube. I'll edit it first, and I'll put your information inside of it.
Cool.
So then I'll combine it into the blog for the first show with Jackson Kelly, who's over here on the site. He does a regular show every Friday morning. He comes in and does a Friday show. He does a show called Friday Night Live every night too at 6 o'clock Pacific time. It's like an entertainment thing. Him and his wife Christy Kelly, they do a really cool show. So that information will be inside of the blog that comes out a little bit later on today as well. So you'll
awesome.
You'll get that. So cool. Chris, it's been wonderful reconnecting with you. I know we've been back and forth talking about doing things for such a long time, but I honor everything you're doing. I appreciate I love you, man. I think what you're doing is the world needs that. You know, people need what you're doing, how you're sharing your gift and helping have change other people's perception of things aren't as bad as they really think they are, you know.
Thank you, Bob. It's been a great time being on your show. I really appreciate it. And I'm so proud and honored to be your friend. And you're so inspiring. And thank you for doing this and bringing the gratitude to the world, because it's so important. It's just incredible what we take for granted. So thank you for doing that, because you're making a change in the world too, buddy.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that, buddy.
No problem. It's been great. Anytime you want me to have you back, just say the word.
I will take you up on that offer for sure.
Awesome. Well, it's been a great time, and I really appreciate it. And you guys can feel free to connect with me and let me know what you think. And if you have any questions, yeah, no problem.
Wonderful. Thanks, Christopher. I'll talk to you later, buddy.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
Okay, bye-bye.